Hello, welcome to Congleton in Cheshire for the start of Stage 3 of the 2016 Tour of Britain. The sun is out, the stars are turning up, which is just as well because the weather was filthy yesterday on a brute of a stage. The historic centre of Carlisle welcomed the riders for the start of Stage 2. Only Cannondale Drapac's Wouter Whippet was missing, pulling out due to being injured in the crash at the end of Stage 1. Like the opening day, a break got away in the first few kilometres, but this time it was dominated by big names from the World Tour, including Team Sky's Irish champion Nicholas Roche, Julian Vermont of Etixx Quickstep, and eventually Andre Greipel, defending his iceberg yellow jersey as Tour of Britain leader. Lotto Soudal's German champion clearly had his eye on the points and the time bonuses on offer in the stage's 3 Yodel sprints. And even though JLT Condor's sizable Connor Dunn gave it a spirited effort, the gorilla grabbed a clean sweep to take another jersey. Just as well as staying in yellow at the day's end was highly unlikely. The peloton organised itself to reel in the break, Bardiani CSF and One Pro Cycling working hard on the front, with Hayden McCormack getting low on his top tube to eke out the seconds. While the breakaway had stayed largely intact and almost 120 kilometres in, the climbing would really sort them out. Roche took the first Skoda points on the Cat 2 ascent of Whinlatter Pass. Movie Star were then drilling the front of the peloton, but it was hard work. Juan Jose Lobato wouldn't or couldn't do a turn. The break then hit the Cat 2 Chestnut Hill. This time, Wanty Group Gobert's Belgian Xandro Maurice hit the top first. The ominous-sounding struggle awaited, though, and BMC's mercurial all-rounder Rowan Dennis began to chase the break on his own. Mark Cavendish is known for his sprinting genius, but he put in a huge effort to give British teammate Steve Cummings a chance of getting something from the day. A kilometre up, he pulled off, and not long after gave a bit of a tongue-lashing to an onlooker who perhaps too unwisely crossed the Manxman. Battling through the mist, Belgian Maurice would take maximum points on the top of the struggle, giving him the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. Behind, though, the climb and its 25% ramps destroyed the field, with men strewn all over it suffering with the gradient. Greipel was also done for the day. As he crested, Rowan Dennis began to descend like a demon to catch the break. As he did, further back, a chase group formed with some formidable talent in it. Dimension Data's Cummings seized the initiative to bridge the gap. Dan Martin tried and failed to go with him. No sooner had Cummings got across, he then attacked the men he fought so hard to join. Julian Vermont would go with him, setting up a battle royale for the win on Kendall's Beast Banks.
Here goes Vermont. Vermont looks as though he's going to go first. Now then, can Steve Cummings respond to this? Vermont's gone away. Steve Cummings cannot respond to the effort from the Belgian. The 24-year-old Belgian, Julian Vermont's going to clear Stage 2 here in Kendall at the summit of Beast Banks.
So after Stage 2's fireworks,
as we saw out on the road, very much reflected now in the general classification after Stage 2. Julian Vermont getting into the yellow jersey presented by Iceberg, and Steve Cummings just 6 seconds behind him. Dan Martin did very well to limit his losses to just 1 minute and 4 seconds. Xandro Maurice's efforts put him in 4th. Ben Swift, Tony Galopin on the same time as him. Then Dylan van Baarle, Guillaume Martin and Tom Dumoulin all on 1 minute 12 down. Nicholas Roche rounding out the top 10, 1 minute and 16 off the leader. Let's hear now from some of the main animators of Stage 2.
Whether you were taking risks or not, I don't know, but you were definitely going fast down there. How was it for you?
Look, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I knew I had to get onto the back of the guys in front, otherwise I was in no man's land. So there were a few risks, but calculated, that's for sure. And generally, I don't do anything too stupid on downhills, especially when it's wet.
Full respect to you, going out there attempting to get the points on the middle of the stage there. It doesn't matter who you're sprinting against, you're going to give it everything.
Yeah, I kind of got in the break and knew the preems were there, so I wanted to get the points and just kind of went for it how I normally would.
It didn't make a difference that you're sprinting against the yellow jersey and Andre Greipel?
Nah, I didn't know he was going to sprint for them, and then he kept coming past me. And yeah, I don't know if he was trying as hard as me, but worth a shot anyway. Yeah.
I think the
The climbs today are also quite tough. It all depends who takes the responsibility, and yeah, I think it was a hard day for everybody yesterday, so I think it's not going to affect anything.
Mark, a lot of people who don't really know much about cycling think you just sprint for a finish, but you put in a monumental turn yesterday for your teammate Steve Cummings. How was that?
I was alright. It wasn't as much as I'd hoped to do, really, you know. I got a bit excited and carried away. I like to do more for him. But, you know, the thing is we've got small teams here and we just ride so well as a team with dimension data that well, most of the time I do work. It's normally before the TV cameras are on, you know. So
what happened after you pulled off? Because you felt the need to turn around and say something to someone who was watching on the climb.
Yeah, it was just this little teenager, and like he's just shouting a bit disrespectful, just shouting a bit of insult. So I was just riding easy. I'd done my turn. I turned round. I just said, "Yo, lad, take me bike. You do it," you know. And he was just trying to be big in front of his mates, you know. So I was like, "Why would you come out in the rain and just shout stuff like that?" You know. And then that was it, really.
Brad, this is a sign of obviously what you said at the start of the race in Glasgow, that you're here to enjoy it. This is your last race on the roads.
Yeah, I mean, after the games, you know, it would have been easy to just say, nah, thanks, I'll stay at home, and, you know, kind of, yeah, I'm not prepared for this in any way, racing on the road at this level, and but at the same time, to come here and like see the crowds today, just to be able to like say thanks to everyone, and, you know, it's a bit of a summarise the last 15, 16 years of racing on the road for me, and, you know, I'm not in my pomp anymore of winning the Tour de France and stuff, and it is a struggle to get around this race, you know, at 82 kilos now as opposed to 69, and, you know, it's just, let's say, it's just nice to be here and take it day by day.
With me now here in Congleton at the start are, well, a load of pros, well, wannabe pros, and Janto Barker, a former pro, newly retired former pro. Just a quick word, Janto, about yesterday's stage. It was an absolute brute. One of the best we've seen on the Tour of Britain, well, ever.
Definitely. I mean, it was exciting from all angles. There was things going on at the front. There was riders going across to the break. For me, it was probably one of the most exciting stages and one of the most toughest conditions I've seen the riders had to undertake.
How will the riders be feeling this morning after that brute of a stage, the weather they had to go through, and now looking out the window and, well, the sun is shining?
Yeah, well, the sun is shining is always a happy morning for any rider, and they'll be glad. I think it's not going to be quite as hard as yesterday, so there'll be a few riders probably with sore legs looking forward to a slightly easier run through the stage today.
We're expecting a sprint finish into Tatton Park. Let's have a look at the stage now. Stage 3 heads southwest out of Congleton, taking in the first Yodel sprint in Alsager. Crew and Nantwich will witness the peloton speeding through before it heads to Sandbach and a second sprint. The riders will pass Tatton Park for the first time and then turn east for a sprint and Skoda climb in Alderley Edge. They'll then test their legs up the Cat 1 brickworks before taking on the mighty Cat and Fiddle. After that, there's more than 40 kilometres of mostly quick descending back to Tatton Park once more for the finish.
Cheshire East will welcome the Tour of Britain for the first time ever this summer, with the first days of the action coming in Congleton, also known as Beartown. This welcoming town is delighted to be holding the start of Day 3 of the Tour of Britain and is experienced at large community events, having hosted both the Olympic Torch Relay, the Commonwealth Baton and numerous carnivals, festivals and military marches. Congleton is hoping the visitors for the Tour of Britain event will wish to return many times to enjoy the town. Stage 3 finishes in Knutsford, a thriving market town which will see cyclists from the Tour of Britain pass through historic streets 2 times during the race. Knutsford sits on the doorstep to the historic country estate Tatton Park, home to a Tudor Old Hall neoclassical mansion, 50 acres of landscape gardens, as well as 1,000 acres of deer park and a rare breed farm. Tatton Park is just a leisurely stroll from Knutsford town centre, and it offers something for all the family.
Janto, hopefully at the end of today's stage we'll get the sprint, the bunch sprint we deserved at the end of stage 1.
Absolutely, with all the protagonists intact and sprinting it out right to the line.
Look who else we've got here, only the most stylish man in cycling,
and David Miller as well alongside him. Chaps, welcome. A day off from the Vuelta, a rest day. So what are you planning?
Well, we're jet lagged from our flight from Spain, obviously, David.
Yeah, the private jet, but now we're over here for a nice day in Cheshire. The weather has come out, it's fantastic. A busman's holiday.
You've picked a cracking day, and you're going to ride to the finish after the start here in
Yeah,
Congleton.
we're not doing 179k, we're going to do about 30 tops.
I hope it's not 30, hopefully 22 approximately.
David, who sits on the front?
Depends. If it's uphill, Ned. If it's flat, me. That's the kind. I kind of drop behind Ned. Ned likes to race. I don't anymore.
I think you're going to get a bit hot in that jumper today, Dave. It's pretty sunny out here. No, look, we couldn't let you come without doing a little bit of work, singing for your supper a little bit, Ned. If you wouldn't mind introducing our commentators.
Yeah, okay. I'll see if I can still do this now. Let's get over to the race footage now with Brian Smith and Hugh Porter.
Ned, you're just as professional as ever. No doubt enjoying a rest day from the Vuelta. Well, this is the start of stage 3 from Congleton to Tatton Park in Knutsford, a distance of 179 kilometres. On the right of our screen there, wearing the iceberg yellow jersey, is Julien Vermont, and in the Chain Reaction Cycles points jersey, Steve Cummings. I'm just wondering if they are going to be wearing those jerseys at the end of today, because it is a tough stage.
And it was a very tough stage yesterday in the lakes, and around Cheshire it's been reported to have very big crowds, so it's been estimated that thousands of people at the side of the roads, but we're going to see an epic stage. But are we going to see the sprint finish as anticipated in Tatton Park, or are we going to see a breakaway?
I think there are thousands of people here as well in Congleton, Brian. It looks like the whole population has turned out to show their appreciation to the riders. We will be expecting quite a bit of action in the sprints as well. There are 3 Yodel sprints, the first coming at Alsager, the second at Sandbach, and the third at Alderley Edge. The crowd having an opportunity here to see the superstars, and there in the distance the famous Jodrell Bank, the world famous radio telescope. Well, the hardest climb today is the ascent of the Cat and Fiddle, and that is 10 kilometres.
So we get another 2 climbs today, Alderley Edge and Brickworks. So 3 King of the Mountains and 3 sprints as of other days.
Well, we've passed kilometre 0 and away we go. This is now becoming the pattern, isn't it? Immediately, Matt Cronshaw of Madison Genesis has ignited the burners. He's got Graham Briggs tucked in his wheel. Christian House is there, and big Ian Stannard. They mean business.
And you can just see the front of the peloton led by Mark Cavendish closing the road. They're happy with this situation.
So 4 riders, and we haven't even covered a kilometre, distancing themselves off the front of the peloton. Well, the first sprint of the day comes in Alsager, and that's at 9.5 kilometres. Now, none of the 4 riders here have scored any points so far in that competition, so if they do go clear, it will not make any difference to the standings. Andre Greipel, the German, is the leader in the Yodel sprint jersey.
So Graham Briggs gritting his teeth there to gain some sort of advantage. They're still not away yet, only a matter of about 10 seconds. Will this gap grow out, or will they be caught?
Yeah, they haven't surrendered yet, the peloton. There's still 1 or 2 riders eager, biting on the bit there to try and jump across and join the 4. They would like to escape as well. Christian House is the man pulling them along.
Yeah, it looks as like the elastic is snapped as the neutral service car waits to go in the gap.
And here's sprint 1 in Alsager. Christian House, the former British national champion, is on the front. Tucked in his wheel is Ian Stannard. And I'm just wondering if they are going to sprint for this, because remember, they haven't scored any points so far. No, it's uncontested, and over the line House takes it from Stannard, with Briggs in 3rd place.
So big crowds here in Alsager to witness the Tour of Britain riders whizzing through their streets.
This group now beginning to develop a good advantage as we confirm the result of sprint 1. House then for the 3 points. Stannard gets 2. Graham Briggs picks up the 1. And the result of sprint 2 at Sandbach. Briggs was over the line first for 3 points. Cronshaw got the 2, and Christian House the 1. So this is Tatton Park, the crossing of the line for the first time. They covered 78 kilometres here, and now they were on to the second loop that would contain the climbs. So we hope you're going to join us after the break for more action. Look at the crowds, unbelievable. Thousands out. I'm just wondering how many are going to be on the top of the Cat and the Fiddle. The atmosphere there will be electric. being cheered on. It's such a spur, it lifts you enormously. There's the station at Alderley Edge. Computer Belt station there. And looks like Ian Stannard. They might not contest this, actually. They're probably just going to ride through. Well, having said that, never commit yourself in the commentary box, eh? They might sprint it out, but we shall see. Cronshaw at the moment on the front with Briggs sitting second wheel, and then it's Christian House third, Stannard Nipson at the back. As I say, they could just well ride through this without it being contested, because they're not actually figuring in the competition, and that's exactly what they do. So over the line first, you've got Cronshaw from Briggs, from House, from Stannard. Those are the four as you saw them cross the line. And what that actually means is that there will be no change in that overall classification, and Andre Greipel will still retain the Yodel Sprinters jersey.
Well, straight through the third sprint at Alderley Edge and straight on to the first Skoda King of the Mountains. This is 1.7 kilometres in length, averages 5%.
So the first climb of the day.
2 first category climbs still to come. So I would think that Christian House may want to try and take some points just in case in a day or two time, you know, another day he gets himself in a breakaway, he's got some points and could possibly take that jersey.
Yeah, good summary there, Brian. Yes, he has won one or two of the classifications along the way over the years, but analytically looking at the standings at the moment in that King of the Mountains that you were just on about, after yesterday's stage, 2 tying on 19, Roach and Movies, none of these have got any. So if none of those riders scored any points and say any of these 4 won all of the stages, they could get a 10 for the top of the ascent of the Cat and the Fiddle. They could get a 10 for the Brickworks, that would be 20, and they could get 6 for Alderley Edge, 26, so they would be the new leader. But that, of course, is speculating. So an evenly balanced group then, clear. 2 big fellas there with Christian House and Ian Stannard. Then almost a diminutive figure of Briggs. And then, of course, Cronshaw. Good working unit that we have that have distanced themselves, and a handsome margin as well. And they, of course, can tackle the climb at their own pace with their own rhythm. Christian House just teeing himself up here for 6 points. House takes the 6, Briggs gets the 5, Stannard the 4, and the 3 going to Cronshaw.
Yeah, so the tactic is of One Pro Cycling to try and vault Christian House up the overall standings in the Skoda King of the Mountains competition, which gives them 2 options, because it's very difficult for Pete Williams to keep on getting in the break. So nice bit of manoeuvring by One Pro Cycling. While back at the front of the peloton, we have got the team of Dimension Data at the front of affairs with Johan van Zyl.
It's going to go down to the wire, I reckon, Brian.
Well, that puts them in 21 points. If Christian House gets maximum points in Brickworks and Cat and Fiddle, that'll be in his thoughts. It'll take him to 26 points, but unfortunately it's only a 4-man breakaway, and 5th place on both of their climbs is in fact 6 points.
Problem is Stannard's got a problem here. Or is he just going to pick up bottles?
Needs a drink.
Yeah, just bottles. It's humid, isn't it, and warm today. Marked contrast to the weather we had yesterday. You could hardly see the riders through the mist and the rain at the top of the struggle in the Lake District.
I don't think too many of the riders were complaining about the temperature yesterday, because it was still quite warm. And you know, a couple of the riders saying afterwards they actually, you know, they knew that it was going to be a bit wet later on, actually overdressed. So you see Brent Lancaster, a former leader of the Giro d'Italia, won the prologue in the Giro d'Italia many moons ago, was one of the you know, a very fast lead-out man. So Brett Lancaster just giving out bottles in the Sky team car to Ian Stannard.
Top team pursuiter as well in his track career. I know we bring it into play every time we commentate, but a lot of these riders have come from a track background. Probably on this occasion there's just one in this group, and of course that's Ian Stannard, who was a European team pursuit champion. That's Stannard, the big fella in the black and blue, number 12. Not black and blue, but black and blue. Pot Shrigley. That's where we're at. The bikes are out as usual. They certainly aesthetically dress these villages up, don't they, as we start climb number 2. And that's going to be the ascent of Brickworks at Potstrigli. 2.7 kilometres long at first category ascent, and a brand new climb to me, Brian. I have no experience of this. I never raced up this, so I don't know if you did.
I lived in Cheshire for a couple of years. I've probably ridden up it, but I don't know the name, Brickworks. But, you know, we'll wait and see.
And then once they've got Brickworks out of the way, at 96 kilometres, it's 16 kilometres from Brickworks, I should say 112 kilometres down the road to the final climb of the day. And that's just another 11 k's away. And it looks like Cronshaw's in trouble here, Brian.
Yeah, very much looks like that. You know, Ian Stannard just setting a tempo. You know, we're 3 days into this race now, and it was, you know, it was a difficult stage yesterday. This is not going to help, you know, the breakaway or help Christian House, because it'll mean that there's more points up for grabs if, you know, once and if Matt Cronshaw is caught by the peloton. But it's a difficult time. I'd like to have seen Mark Cronshaw stay with the breakaway as much as possible, but it's just the tempo now being set by Graham Briggs, Christian House and Ian Stannard that is putting Mark Cronshaw in a little bit of difficulty.
Yeah, he's lost contact, and the pace being tapped out at the front by Brigo as well almost put Ian Stannard in the red zone, but the big fella's come back, dropped into the wheel now of Christian House. So it is this triumvirate of talent at the front now that are going clear, and it looks like Cronshaw, well, he might be saying cheerio here to the group. Now then, if you look down there, you can see the White Nancy obelisk, prominent and famous obelisk on top of the hill overlooking Bollington. The funnel becomes narrower as they get towards the line, and this is the summit of Brickworks, the second climb of the day of 2.7 kilometres long. They're not going to sprint, it's uncontested. House takes the maximum points from Stannard and from Briggs. So that's another useful cluster of points then for Christian House. Remember, that's a first cat climb, so he gets 10 points there. A little bit of a split here on the front of the peloton, a slight fracture. 4 riders beginning to apply the pressure, and it is Nicholas Roach. This is the sprint for the minor places. Roach trying to get 5th place over the top of the climb. Here comes the challenge then. Who's going to take it? It's going to be close. It looks like, well, is it going to be Roach? I think Roach, yes, has got the greatest. Oh, I think Roach just about took that. So that would mean he's finished
the locked on points
5th,
again.
we think, over wherever he's finished. If Cronshaw's ahead of him, it means he's taken 1 point more than Maurice in the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. So they're now level again now. What a contest. Let's take a look at the Strava overview of the Cat and Fiddle climb.
It's the longest in this year's Tour of Britain, 10 kilometres in length, 3% average gradient with an elevation of 328 metres.
And it brings the riders out onto the top of the moors. Just waiting for a reaction then from the back of the peloton. I'm sure this is where it is going to happen. There's Cummings sitting 5-6 back. Oh, isn't that pretty? Oh, marvellous. Somebody really has been thinking about the tour that's coming. Victoria Park. They can get involved with all these things, don't they, Brian? They really love it. Still working hard on contrasting styles there. See, Briggs is sort of tugging on the bars almost with the shoulders rolling. And then Ian Stannard hauling that big physique up the climb.
This is a good climb, a good racing climb, and You know, I've actually gone up this climb myself, and I've actually gone up it in a big ring. Maybe not nowadays, but it's one of these climbs that's a nice average. You know, with the big ring, you can kind of churn some good power up here. It's not the steepest, as we've said earlier on. 10 kilometres, 3% average. The hardest point of the Canton Fiddle is probably the start of it. Once you get into a rhythm and get up over the top, it's a really nice climb.
So Cronshaw about to get swept up. He's had a good day. He's given his sponsor plenty of exposure there on the television. That's what it's all about.
I've said it a few times in the last, you know, half an hour. If no other teams come up to the front to help, then these 3 riders can go to the finish.
46 k's to go then when they cross the line at the summit, with a fast descent as well. That's well, probably only a tad over an hour of racing, and a healthy lead of 6:39 with strong riders, as you say, particularly Ian Stannard, who's a real workhorse. There's a very good chance they could survive.
I think he'll be saving a little bit of power, and he's going to use Christian House and Graham Briggs as much as he can, and probably, you know, try and leave them in the last 20 kilometres and try and solo to the win. But this is a nice, healthy advantage. And unless we get a reaction from the peloton and the other sprinters teams over the top of this this climb, then, you know, these guys could be dueling out the win and possible, you know, taking 1, 2, 3 in the stage.
It would be a very, very nice scenario, or to the conclusion. A lot of club lads have pedalled their way up here. Christian House almost shouldering that spectator who was taking the photo with the camera. There's the crowd then stretching all the way to the top. And there's the pub you're on about, Brian, right up there on the left. A lot of the boys from the Stoke area have pedalled up here. I know 1 or 2 of my mates that I ride with down in Wolverhampton. They said if it was going to be a fine day today, they were going to ride up here. Have a look at it. Have a look at this again. Here we are. Get ready. Look at the left shoulder of Christian House. Go on, mate. Just about missed him.
That's the danger when you're looking through the viewfinder to take that picture. You don't realise how close you are.
Here we are, coming up to the top now. Christian House looking as though, in fact, Brigo just gives him a little push. So House is going to ride through at the top as we go past the Cat and the Fiddle pub. He gets the 10 points, Briggs gets the 9, and Stannard gets the 8.
That does indicate to you that they are working together. They're communicating well together and are working together. They now believe, you know, Christian House has already shown they weren't going to battle for the King of the Mountains points. They now believe that they have got a great chance of finishing first, second and third in this stage today. So Graham Briggs taking some nutrition in, so is Christian House, all helping each other, all with the same view of trying to stay away. And I believe that it's within their grasp now. They have to believe, and I think they do believe, but they have to all work together to try and keep this peloton at bay. This is a big ask from the likes of Tony Martin, who's sitting at front from Ethics Quick Step, and the rest of Team Dimension Data. And with 6 minutes and 43 seconds, with just under 44 kilometres to go, unless they get some support now, I think it could be a British stage win and not Mark Cavendish at the end of today's stage.
Well, Ian Stannard was 3rd overall in the Tour of Britain back in 2008. That was the year that Cummings finished 2nd. So British won 2 in 2nd and 3rd positions on the podium on that particular year. As the sprint unfolds now, here we go. This is Wout Poels leading out Nicholas Roach. And, well, he's gone with an amazing amount of energy here. He's looking back to see where Roach is. Roach now looking for the wheel, but the challenge from Maurice is also coming. And it's these two that are going to really fight it out for the points on the line. Roach looks back and seems quite content as he drops back into the wheel of Wout Poels. They went a little early there, actually. So it's Poels looking after Roach, and then it's Maurice, the current Skoda King of the Mountains leader, and now they're getting closer to the line, and here it is. So Poels leading out, Roach on the left and Maurice on the right, and it looks like Maurice has got the advantage at this point. Has Roach got anything? And the answer to that is no. So it's Maurice of Wanty Group that collects the points on the top of the final climb. That's 7 more points then for Maurice and 6 to Roach, and that means that he will be on the podium at the presentations at the end. So Sandro Maurice has retained the lead in the King of the Mountains. Here it is from the top.
Yeah, Roach never had the legs. They went very early, but it looks as if Maurice had enough energy and, you know, wanted it a little bit more there. He had the help of his teammates, and he keeps a hold of that black Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. Job done for the day.
Yeah, I think Paul's let him out a little bit too early, didn't he, really? And a gap opened, and he had to make an effort to get back into the wheel, and the Wanty Group Pro never panicked. And here we are. This is the attack we've been thinking about, and it's Ian Stannard that's decided that he is going to go with 41 kilometres of riding left. Briggs reacts immediately. He wants to be in the wheel of the big man, and it looks like Christian House has actually gone. Now then, I can't see Briggs getting up here to Stannard. Stannard now beginning to bury himself as he tries to distance himself from the other two.
So that's the difficulty you've got when you get into the, you know, the pointy end of a bike race like this, when you've had World Tour races. Unfortunately for Christian House and Graham Briggs, they do not have the kind of inner strength that Ian Stannard has, and, you know, sitting waiting. They do believe that they had an opportunity. He hit them at the right time, and he's trying to solo the last 40 kilometres.
And to be quite honest, Brian, with the lead of almost 6 minutes, Stannard actually has the engine and the team support from behind to do that.
They're sitting, you know, you can see team dimension data. Mark Cavendish right up there near the front. They're not pushing on. It's a game of poker now. Nobody's going to help. Nobody wants to ride. They were leaving it all up to team dimension data as we see the result of the climb.
So there we are, tidying up the result for you, and the fact that Maurice finished in that position to get 7 points ahead of Roach. He will be the man that'll be on the podium to collect the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. Now then, the action really on. We've got 1 hour of racing left to tidy up stage 3, and it really is now beginning to unfold. On the front of Dimension Data, looking after the interest of Steve Cummings, but on the front, at the business end of the race, it's Ian Stannard that has now gone clear. He's blown his team breakaway mates completely out of the wheel, and now it's Stannard v the peloton, v 39 kilometres for the victory. Certainly has reflected fabulous athleticism today, Brian. Never a hint at all of any tiredness. And when he decided to go and ignite the burners, he was just like a runaway train.
Everybody after yesterday's stage, you know, thought it was really, really tough, and to come out kilometre 0 and even just get themselves in the breakaway, they must have had stiff legs. But they rode to a good advantage of over 6 minutes, and it's even pushed out more. So tremendous amount of power going into this effort here by Ian Stannard. Similarly with House and Briggs behind.
Under the arch, he's in Tatton Park now. You've got Tatton Old Hall here, the gardens. 2,000 acres, popular visitor attraction. As now Ian Stannard pedals his way up the drive. Pretty narrow, so perhaps it is good that we're not going to get a massive big bunch sprint on that narrow road, but of course the big trains will have thinned that out. So we're on 2 kilometres to go now. Look ahead, you'll soon see the Alpecin gantry to tell us there's 1 kilometre remaining. And for Ian Stannard, a sensational display here of monumental proportions. Great strength, masterclass. Ian Stannard with 2 kilometres to go to the victory on stage 3. Tatton Mere on the right, and As he gets into the final kilometre, he will be passing Melchatmere. And this is the brace of riders that have been doggedly pursuing him since he got rid of them. And that's Graham Briggs at the front of JLT Condor. And in Briggs' wheel, riding on 1 Pro, is Christian House. Under the historic arch. And they are now into the grounds. We've had 1 or 2 finishes in parks over the years, and they always prove to be very popular, with families coming out and enjoying the day's action. There it is then, the Alpecin gantry over the road and the famous pennant hanging down. 1 kilometre to go as they've gone under the Flamme Rouge. Quick comment on the performances of Ian Stannard today, Brian?
Powerful, very powerful, but we know he's that type of rider. When we found out he was in a breakaway, if he was going to go to the finish, he was going to put this type of performance in. We've seen him do it in the past. We've seen it do it to win the British title, and you know, we've seen even the powerful performance he puts in by riding for his sprinter Viviani in the first stage in Scotland. Okay, there wasn't a success, but he's put in a successful performance today to win his first stage ever in the history of the Tour of Britain.
500 metres to go then for Ian Stannard, the man that's finished 3rd overall in this race a few years ago, and he's had a 2nd place before on one of the stages, but today he is going to claim the top spot to win stage 3 of the Tour of Britain here in Tatton Park with a sensational solo performance. And the crowd are being whipped up here by the speaker as he gets maximum support. The arrival of Ian Stannard on Team Sky, the winner of stage 3 of the Tour of Britain. Look at the welcome he's getting from the crowd. You can hear the noise resonating all over Tatton Park. There's the victory salute. Ian Stannard is home and dry, winner of stage 3 of the Tour of Britain. And now we wait for the arrival of Christian House at the front and Graham Briggs. These two to decide the 2nd and 3rd positions. Hugs of congratulations then for Stannard. Christian House staying tightly on the left, which gives Briggs 1 opportunity only to pass on the right. And he is going to be fully aware of the explosive start in the sprint of Briggs, but Christian House can finish very good as well, powerfully and strongly, so it looks as though we're going to be treated to a good old tussle here between these two. Briggs waiting. House just keeping an eye out for the surprise, the element of surprise. Briggs has the better position to surprise House with the jump. The longer they can stall it, and then he can jump past him, that's going to play into Briggs's hand, but House is too wily for that, very experienced. They come up to 300 metres to go, and there's still no reaction from Briggs. It's getting closer. House at the front. Is Briggs going to try and jump past him? House starts to lead this one out for 2nd position, and Briggs trying to come down the side of him, but I think Briggs has left it too late. House still with the front position. Having said that, here comes a challenge from the Yorkshireman on the left. Briggs of JLT Condor takes 2nd from Christian House of 1 Pro in 3rd place. Still not got to the kilometre to go sign. There's evidence of Team Sky riders and also Team Wiggins. They've got Owain Doull as well, who's not got himself involved in any of the sprints yet. It's Giant Alpecin that's now making a move.
Yeah, Giant Alpecin coming up to the Bardiani rider, and then you've got Mark Renshaw, Steve Cummings and Mark Cavendish.
Sinkeldam is a good sprinter then on Team Giant. Mark Cavendish is also there looking to launch himself for a possible victory in the bunch sprint.
And here comes Team Sky think it possibly trying to look after possibly Danny Van Poppel now. Moving away here, so it's an opportunity. Ben Swift on the wheel, so it's an opportunity to try and take some scalps here.
That looks like Swift leading out Van Poppel for the bunch sprint. Swift at the front with Van Poppel in his wheel, and they are looking to try and get 4th place here. Also a challenge coming through, very strong challenge coming through as well there from Simeon of Bardiani. Could be Simeon here of Bardiani, as they're all looking for the line now. Bardiani's going to take it. Simeon goes away to the left. It may be Raffonia. We'll wait till it's been confirmed on the line. But Van Poppel is also there here from Team Sky as they're getting closer and closer. Oh, it's very close indeed.
Yeah, it looks like Raffoni from Bardiani takes a bunch sprint from Van Poppel. Sinkeldam was up there for Giant Alpecin. So this is Ian Stannard coming up to the finishing line. Hard day in the saddle. Looks a little puffed out, but he's got his first ever stage win in the history of the Tour of Britain, and he'll take that.
A superhuman solo effort over the closing kilometres of stage 3 earned Ian Stannard the victory in Tatton Park, Knutsford. He was away from kilometre 0 in a break of 4.
Yeah, it was a pretty big day, you know, home roads as well, so pretty motivated for the stage and keen to get away.
We see you do that so often. You're known as the man of the breakaways. How good does it feel for that big move to finally pay off for you?
Yeah, it's always nice to win from a breakaway and solo as well, so I really enjoyed it today.
German national champion Andre Greipel, riding for Lotto Soudal, retained his Yodel sprint jersey. After a head-to-head tussle over today's 3 climbs, Belgium's Sandro Maurice leads the Skoda King of the Mountains by a scant 1 point from Nicholas Roach. The yellow jersey presented by Iceberg remains in the possession of Julian Vermont of Ethics Quickstep after the 179-kilometre 3rd leg, and after he tidied up for us the problem he had incurred on the Cat.
Well, actually it was not a puncture, Dan hit my rear wheel, and so some spokes went out, and I had to change the wheel, but we got back quite easily. I just want to thank my teammates for all the support they gave, you know. It's strange to see Tony Martin working for me. It's like, you know, that's real team spirit, and I have to thank all the guys.
So after 3 days of racing, this is how the general classification looks. Julian Vermont, the leader, 6 seconds ahead of Stephen Cummings. Dan Martin third at 1 minute and 4 seconds, and Ben Swift fourth.
What an amazing solo effort that was, and there's only one man really who could pull that off. Yogi Bear himself. Ian Stannard is with me. Ian, did you envisage doing that when the race started, or did it just sort of culminate in front of you?
Yeah, obviously I was motivated for the stage. You know, I know the roads really well and trained on them since I was like 18. So yeah, super motivated, but I didn't expect it to go so easy. And then, you know, obviously I was the highest placed rider of 13 minutes in the break. So once we got it established, I kind of knew I was in for a good shout. Wanted about 5 minutes over the top on Catafiddle, and easily had that.
I know you're really pleased to win the stage, but also to take all those Strava KOMs as well that people perhaps will never ever get back.
Yeah, it's more about the descent ones, you know, on the closed roads, chasing them police motorbikes. Yeah, no one's going to get them now, eh?
Is this the motivation though now for Team Sky, because you're pretty low on GC overall? I think Nicholas is still up there, Swifty's not too far away, but it looks unlikely that you'll win the yellow jersey at the end of the week.
Yeah, you know, we've got some good sprinters as well, so you know, try and line it up for them later in the week. I think tomorrow's going to be pretty tough, especially for myself now, but yeah, I think GC's pretty over, but you know, 6-man teams as well, anything can change quite quickly. A bigger group goes up the road and it's very hard to bring back.
Great to see you do that in front of your wife Helen, and also your 15-month-old daughter Alice, witnessing Dad win for the very first time on home roads as well. Doesn't get better than that. Janto, though, there are some fantastic sprinters there, so why weren't they motivated to chase down Ian and the other breakaway?
When you say motivated, it's a good question, you know, and I think actually there's a good chance that by the time they got to those roads, it was probably going to get quite difficult to bring the group back. You know, guys like Ian are hard to, you know, close gaps on without dropping their team sprinters at the same time. So I think that that effort will have been measured and calculated at the time, especially when you consider tomorrow is another big day climbing in the mountains.
It's a huge day. Look, I have to admit, I bet Janto a tenner that the breakaway wouldn't stick. I was wrong. Janto, there's your money.
I'll teach you.
Enjoy spending that.
Don't question my expertise again, please.
Maybe you should buy Ian a drink, seeing as he won you that money. Ian, many thanks indeed. Well done to you. That's just about it from us for now. But as Janto said, tomorrow is a massive stage. It's the longest one of the race, all the way through North and Mid Wales, and over 4,000 metres of climbing in.
Fancy that?
Yeah, you could have told me before today. Eh?
Yeah, sorry, mate. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.